My name is Andrew Lee. I'm an assistant district attorney here at the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. I'm currently assigned to the Gilgo Beach Homicide Taskforce. So my parents immigrated to the United States in 1984. They came here from South Korea. They came initially for additional studies. My father had grand dreams to be a professor. So his goal was to temporarily do some work and study and advance, hopefully, to become a professor back in South Korea. They had me a few years in, and that kind of changed their plans. And that led them down a road where they took up other work. My dad worked at a grocery store stocking vegetables for years. And my mother worked at a nail salon. She worked in retail for a little bit. Forever 21 was a lot bigger now. It was a little small store back in the day. And, they worked these odd jobs. They gave up a lot of the dreams they had to just kind of raise a family. I'm the first in my family to graduate college, first in my family to go to law school, the first in my family to be an attorney. And so, growing up, I would see other parents, and, they looked very professional. They looked different. And for me, growing up, people asked why I wanted to be an attorney. It was one of the few jobs I knew that you had to wear a suit to work. And just that feeling of seeing the other parents, wanting kind of that professional look and appearance. And so for me growing up, it really informed kind of what I wanted to do, the professions I was interested in. And so that type of immigrant experience, I call it, growing up in Queens, Bayside, New York, and just being born and raised to my mother and father, my stepmother as well, and the three of them really gave up the things they were passionate about to allow me to do something that I love here today. So I went to the St. John's University School of Law. It was there where I first got into oral advocacy, written advocacy, and it's really there where I realized I wanted to be a trial attorney. And through that experience, I was able to intern at the district attorney's office, first in Queens, in the domestic violence program. And it was through that experience, just having met somebody on just after the worst day of their lives, and the way that the professor put it was, by a show of hands, how many in this class have ever called 911? And there was maybe a hand or two raised. And his opening monologue to the class was, each of the people you're about to meet have called 911, and they're at the worst day of their lives, and it's up to you to figure out how to pick up the pieces after. And your job is part social worker, your job is part making sure justice and the right thing is being done. And it was through that class and through that program I really knew I wanted to be a prosecutor. And you would meet these people a day or two after, oftentimes with significant injuries still on them, and sitting down with them and just kind of picking up the pieces. You can't go straight to work, and just if there are kids involved, it just was a process, and it was a process I ended up learning to love, being there for victims and befriending victims and getting to know victims, instead of just judging them on kind of what brought them to this place, really trying to sympathize and learn about their journey. So I first got my gig as a prosecutor right out of law school. I worked at the Bronx County District Attorney's Office, and it was there I continued the domestic violence work. I was there for 3.5 years, all in the Domestic Violence Bureau. And one of my passions there was, we had a huge caseload. And a lot of the victims, most part, were not cooperative or wanted the charges to be dropped. And as a prosecutor, finding the ability to figure out, is this a case I can build independent of the witness's cooperation? And that was something that I found intriguing, I was impassioned to do that. And if you could, should you? I think that's the next question a prosecutor asks. And during those 3.5 years, that was a big passion of mine, getting to know victims of domestic violence, what contributed to them being in the place that they're at now, getting them help and resources, but also making sure we're doing the right thing by them, And sometimes that was going forward with a case where they weren't cooperative in the investigation. And I've had people throughout my career disagree with the decision to go forward in the moment, but come back a year or two later and said, you know what, that was what I needed. They came back and appreciated the decision that we made, and that there's no greater high in this industry than that. After the Bronx County DA's office, my family began to grow, and that 1.5 hour commute each way began to take a toll on my family, and we moved to the Nassau County District Attorney's office, where I worked for almost 4 years there. In that office, I ended working in the Organized Crime and Rackets Bureau. One of my jobs there was Nassau County was dealing with a big residential burglary problem, where illegal residents from South America would be coming to Nassau County to commit burglaries under fake identities, and these were organized groups, and just working hand in hand with law enforcement to apprehend perpetrators of these crimes, making sure that the right thing is being done, and kind of working through victims and sitting down with them. Their home, their castle, their sanctuary had just been burglarized, and walking them through the process, and sitting down with them after you have the good result and the investigation has led to arrests and indictments. Sitting down with families, that's the best part of this job. Bringing some measure of closure, some measure of, hey, we were able to somewhat right this wrong. Again, that's a big part of this job, and that's a big part of what keeps us going. One of the cases I'm proud about during my time in Nassau in the Major Crimes Bureau was there was a cold case, a gunpoint robbery. In this specific instance, a young family had just gotten home after celebrating their 2-year-old's birthday. They get a knock at the door, and when they open the door, there are 3 masked gunmen. They didn't realize the 3 masked gunmen were looking to rob a drug dealer. They had the wrong home. And what they did to this family was have them at gunpoint, ransack their entire apartment. Once they realized they had the wrong home, they didn't stop. They took laptops, phones, cash, presents that the 2-year-old had just gotten for her birthday, gift cards. And that experience left a mark on this family for a long time. And just getting to know them throughout the course of the investigation, the prosecution, they were just so appreciative that we had never stopped working the case. And that was a big part of kind of what fueled my work here on the Gilgo Beach Homicide Taskforce. It's a different apple, different type of case, but having families know that we're never going to stop working is such a source of healing, as much as it can be for families who've gone through something very difficult. So I came to the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office in August of 2022. DA Tierney hired me out of Nassau County, and initially I worked in the Violent Criminal Enterprises Bureau, investigating and prosecuting gang violence. And in December of 2022, the DA appointed me to the Gilgo Beach Task Force. I'm appreciative to DA Tierney, not only for selecting me, but as a young kid, I would, in college and throughout law school, when I knew this was what I wanted to do, I would play this little game where I would watch TV whenever a big investigation would break or there was a big conviction, and you would see the DA's office to a press conference. And I would look for people who looked like me. And, this was a game that I played probably over 150 times. And I might have been 1 for 150. And for DA Tierney to pick a Korean American immigrant, someone who came from a Korean immigrant family, it means a lot to me, it means a lot to the community, it means a lot to my family. And so it was a call that was great, not just for me, but for my family, for the community. It meant a lot.